Hey guys, Dave Jr. with Wellbuilt Equipment. Don't forget to check us out on the web at wellbuiltequipment.com. Follow us on Facebook at Area Lift Repairs. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment in the comments section below. Today I'm coming to you guys from our lift warehouse to tell you about the newest addition to our rentals and sales inventory, the CTE Traccess 230. This machine weighs in at 6,400 pounds. Goes down to 31 inches wide, a full 4 to 5 inches narrower than most machines in the industry. It is the narrowest machine in its class. Comes standard with a 2-cylinder Kubota engine and an option for an electric motor. Plug into a 20 or 30 amp circuit depending on what your needs are. Our machine has black tracks on it, but you can get non-marking tracks as an option as well. This machine gets you to 75 foot of working height with a full 440 pound capacity at 38 foot of side reach from the center of the turntable. Today we're going to kind of go over the features for everybody, show a couple of the things that we really like about this, and then we'll take you up in the machine and go for a ride. So first thing, this machine, we got a lot of input from customers on how the machine needed to be able to handle the rigors of not just the construction industry, but other industries we service. So you can see it has metal covers throughout. Nice thick metal covers protecting the engine. On the front of the machine, the radiator is actually recessed behind the metal in the front so that if your guys are dumb enough to smack into something, it doesn't break it. And then below there we have an attachment point if you need to pull it back up out of a ravine or something, or up or down a steep hill. The machine's super simple to operate, has Kubota key switches and ignitions. Inside the lower panel, everything's run on your standard Bosch relays. You can just go pick up at a Napa or AutoZone. The other key switches that are on here are ones that you can pick up at a Granger if you needed them in a pinch, or we always stock them, of course. Same thing with the limit switches. This machine has all Telemechanic limit switches on it. They're not some crazy Italian one or some Chinese one that costs $200. You can just go pick them up from your local bucket truck shop or from us as well. So this is the business end of the machine. Walk down. The cool feature about our CTE 230, this machine is the only machine that has hydraulic positionable outriggers. So if you look underneath here, we have 4 levers. When I turn the machine on in a minute here, you'll be able to see how those operate. Pretty much gives you infinite adjustability of where the placement of the outriggers is. There's indicators here that let you know what position you're in, from full rotation all the way around the machine, rotation on the left side, rotation on the right side. We're only in the narrow position. And again, once you get out past that minimum distance for the angle, you can put them pretty much wherever you need to avoid grandma's rose bush, a sprinkler head, a tree, a downspout, whatever you may have, maybe church pews inside of a building or auditorium seating. Really allows us to do a lot of things with the machine that we just can't with other brands. The tracks do come in and out horizontally. They're about 51 inches when they're fully extended, and again go down to 31 inches when they're shrunk down. Our tie downs are nice and clear in the open, out of the way, where you're not having to put your chains or binders or straps or shackles or whatever you're going to use across the tracks of the equipment or across any metal covers. And then you can see right behind there is one of our 2 hydraulic filters on the machine. Again, right out in the open, slide a pan right under it, super easy to change, not going to make a mess all over your machine. Come around to the front up here, you can see our lifting points on the outriggers. We don't have the shackles in here today for picking them up. And then our reinforced covers for the rods on the cylinders. They're not some thin little piece of steel, and they actually do protect the rod. Coming up to the front of the machine, we have a 5-foot jib on here. It'll go a little bit above horizontal if you need to reach up past something, and we have an 160-degree rotation basket. Our machine, pretty simple to work on. Again, the whole idea was to make this thing serviceable. So we have multiple connection points in the hoses. Your hoses terminate here at the end of the boom arm. If one of your guys rips these off, it's a very short hose to replace. The rest of it's protected inside. When you extend this machine out, our cylinder is on the underside of the boom arm, away from all the work you're doing. So if you're painting overhead, if you're working in a tree, if you're doing any sort of roof repairs where you have tar or other substances that would normally compromise your cylinder rod, the rod's completely protected under there. And then this machine actually has an internal extend and retract chain system. So when that boom arm comes out, there's nothing on there but the boom arm itself that you can hopefully not run into things with. Come around to the basket. This is our 2-man basket with a plastic base. We also have a 1-man basket that's entirely aluminum and a 1-man fiberglass basket option. We do have deck power on this machine. Currently it's equipped for 208. We can configure that to a 110 GFI, whatever your needs are. Basket's super easy to remove. One pin right here below where the upper cage controls would sit, and then your lanyard anchorage points are right below that as well. Again, this machine's 440 pound capacity at the full side reach. The nice thing about that is if you're a chubby guy like me, you actually get all the reach that you're paying for in the machine. A lot of the competition out there, or I should say almost all of it, you lose that capacity when you go out, and because of that, you don't actually ever get to use everything that you're paying for on the machine. That's not the case with our products. So you can see the reach chart right here, and we'll put a link up to what the full specs are on the machine. It's a good solid range, and our reach chart does not come in at a circle down here. Once you're 1 foot up out of the cradle, you can reach straight out. So if you're working from the bottom up on a job, you get that full side reach all the way through the range until it starts to curve back above that up and over clearance. Come around on this side. Our machine, again, simplicity. We love simplicity. Less to go wrong is better for everybody. This is a true master-slave hydraulic leveling system. What that means is we don't have a sensor that operates your platform level. The platform level is operated by a cylinder in the rear of the machine. Again, less sensors, less wires, less to go wrong. Same thing with our cage load cell. It's not a compression, it's an underslung load. What that means is it's not always putting pressure on it, it's pulling down on it. Again, we want something that was more reliable, more robust. Nobody in our business, regardless of the industry, is easy on equipment. Coming around to the other side here, I have the cover off for the emergency controls. We do have a video that shows how that operates. Our emergency controls, again, going back to safety and simplicity, it is all about the operator in the basket. Proportional controls for every emergency function on the machine allow you to control that and just feather it if you have to. The last thing you want to do when someone is pinned up against something is try and have to fidget or fumble or push in a detent or have no control of the speed that you're operating the functions on. And we'll show you how the emergency controls work later. So coming around to this side then, this is our all-metal diesel tank with a nice clear sight gauge. Again, everything's recessed. It's underneath the protective cover for the engine. We don't want anything outside that people can damage or cover in paint or drop tree limbs on or roofing materials or whatever have you. Our air cleaner inside, again, where our filter housing is under the cover. You do have the breather cap that comes up, but they're standard stuff, you know, right off the shelf. It's not something fancy or complicated. We like everything to be easily replaced. Other than that, for features, if you can slide underneath the base of this machine, you're going to see that this machine has almost no hoses hanging out from the undercarriage of it. When we raise it up on the Outriggers, we'll put it up nice and high so that you guys can look at that. Again, lots of problems with competing brands where hoses get caught on things on job sites, in people's backyards, going around townhomes, climbing over curbs. We like everything to be out of the way, nice and clean, so that it doesn't get caught on stuff. So let's fire it up, show you guys some of the functions. Turn the key on. Battery disconnect is located right below the key to start the engine. So we're going to turn it towards the engine. Key down here is toward the engine. If you're going to use the electric side, we would flip it the other direction. Go ahead and start it up. Turn on our remote, and then I will show you guys how the hydraulic position outriggers work. All right, so again, speed, setup time, able to use this thing in more positions. That is what CTE lifts are all about. Hydraulic swing outriggers mean you don't have to walk around the machine and put a pin in. You don't have to swing any legs 180 degrees out like a lot of the models out there in order to get them into the position where they're used. They have a good up and over clearance if you need to drop down past a wall, and this thing will level a decent amount, about 3 feet on the side hill. We set it up on about a 15% grade, digging in the outriggers. Again, you always want to make sure that those outriggers land in a flat spot. Nobody likes to go skating down the hill. While we have the outriggers out, I want to take a minute to kind of show you guys how things are nice and hidden, out of the way, out of the positions where people would normally break them, and underneath nice strong covers. If you come around over here, you can see these are our Telemechanic switches. This is for our ground contact on the outrigger, and then underneath here is actually where our switches are that tell us what position the outriggers are in if they're all the way down. You can't even see them. That's the way we want it. We want them out of the way, out of a spot where somebody can drop anything on them and break them. While you're down there in the camera, you may have noticed some familiar markings on the hoses. That's because this machine has almost entirely Parker hoses on it. Wherever Parker had a hose available, it's on this machine. That means if you blow a hose, you can splice into the hose, as long as the condition of the hose is still good enough to keep using the machine safely. If not, there's raceways through the entire boom arm. Makes it super easy to change a hose out, raise it up in the air, pull the old hose out with a string, pull the new hose through with a string. Again, it's all about the serviceability aspect for us, because that's what we do. So you can see now I have the outriggers swung out. All 4 lights are lit up. That means all the outriggers are all the way out. This is the position we're in then. We can rotate the machine 360 degrees. It's non-continuous. Once you go to one direction, you do have to come back. There's no hydraulic rotary coupler in the middle of this machine. It's just a coil hose like it is on pretty much every machine made. For the most part, our customers don't have to keep going around in circles and circles. Rotary couplers are a high maintenance item, especially in a dirty field like the tree industry, the construction industry, where this machine primarily goes, and we just don't need the hassle and headache for the very limited times you would have to go more than 360 degrees. So wireless controls allow us to drive the machine without the remote being cradled. If we do need to run the boom functions, there's a place underneath this cover here. It's plastic right now. It will be metal on yours if you buy one. That allows you to cradle it, run every function on the boom. Same thing up top. The remote goes up top, goes into a cradle in the basket, plug into the side. There's no external battery on this. The battery is built in. When you plug the remote in, the remote always works. If it doesn't work from up there, it'll work from down here. If it doesn't work from either of those, there's a third cord that's there in case those both get damaged for some reason or your guy's an idiot. We pull that cord out. It's about 4 foot long, allows you to walk with the machine and get it to a location where you can do the repair. Let's fire this bad boy up. Keys on, remote's on, push to connect, start it up, and you can see right here we have a 3-position selector. Left side is for hydraulic positionable outriggers, center is for drive and automatic leveling, right side is for when you're doing your boom functions. You can start and stop the engine from the remote. Turn it off by flicking down to start. There you go. Over on the right side, we got a rabbit and a turtle. Turtle's for your torque mode when you're driving. That's for when you're on pavement, any hard abrasive surfaces, anything where you need a little bit more oomph from the engine in order to turn the machine so it doesn't bog down. Rabbit mode here is for when you're driving in a straight line, trying to speed it up. Over to the left here, you can see we have a switch for moving the tracks in and out. Then everything's got nice clear labels. Kind of hard to see with my GoPro handling skills of what all the boom functions do. Basically, when we fire this machine up, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the left side, raise the machine up. That raises up the lower pantograph, upper boom arm, extension for the boom arm, jib, platform rotate, or turntable rotate, and then platform rotate, sorry. The idea is that everything's in the order that you would need to use the controls before when you open it up and then when you stow it. So when we raise the machine up, we're going to go this way. When we lower the machine back down, we're going to start by centering the basket. We're going to center the turntable, lower the jib, suck the boom arm in, lower the upper boom arm, lower the lower boom arm, and then we'll be back in the cradle and we'll rock and roll. So I'll show you how this bad boy drives. Hopefully you guys can see that. You can see again, it's going to idle up and give you a lot of hydraulic pressure when you're on that abrasive concrete. Our warehouse has a brushed concrete, and you can see this thing just turns on a dime, no problem. It's absolutely horrible for your tracks on the machine. So if you're doing that on pavement every day, I would really suggest not doing that. You're going to eat through your tracks quick. You're going to cause a lot of wear and tear on that undercarriage, and you just in general don't want to do it to the machine. So let's go ahead and pull it forward here. Show you guys the drive speed and rabbit. Then we can auto level it. Faster way to level it is to do it. You can do them individual controls. Here I gotta tilt my camera down so you guys can see that. So I'm gonna put all 4 outriggers down. You can see I'm about to hit one of our lifts over there. So if I gotta rotate it a little, I can kind of steer the machine. Oh, I did the dumb thing. Didn't put it in the turtle. Go ahead and pull it away from that machine a little bit here. Level those outriggers down. Alright, so you can see the machine level's super low to the ground. We're barely an inch off. If that's all you need to do in order to use the machine because you're on flat ground, you don't got to go any further than that. But I'm going to go ahead and raise it up here so you guys can see just how far up in the air it will go. It doesn't want to go more. Oh, there we go. Helps if you hold the right button. And the leveling increments are so tiny. The controls are really precise on this thing, so you can see that's every little point where I could have leveled this machine all the way up. And then just keep raising it. Get that bad boy nice and high up in the air so you guys can see what that looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the engine off for a second, and then hopefully I can dip down here. You can see what we're talking about the hoses. So again, the idea on this machine is we want as little hanging down as possible. Job sites always have debris on them, especially in the construction industry, which is our primary market. Tree care industry, same thing. You got branches on the ground, debris, stump you didn't see, any of that type of stuff. We don't like the hoses hanging down. I'll walk around to the back side and you can really see that channel underneath the engine. No big skid plate needed on this model. Everything's nice, big, thick frame rails. If you do happen to come across something that's really beefy, all the hoses are nice and tucked up and in there. And not only are they tucked in there, but they're really easy to access. Again, we want that end user friendly experience to be as good as possible on this machine. And that's what we accomplished there. Let's go ahead and pop over to the back side because I left the remote on the ground. So you may notice that the basket's way up in the air. We have an option for a step that can go on here. If you're going to use the machine a lot and you do want the step, it attaches here, folds down, gets you 2 steps. For most of our customers, that step is in the way. So you just climb into the basket ahead of time, level the machine from the basket. You can drive while you're in the basket, pick up the outriggers, run all the boom functions. The only thing you can't do while you're in the basket is use the hydraulic positionable outriggers. We'll go ahead and fire this back up and we'll lower it down to where I can get in. Again, you see the speed of setup is incredible on this machine. If you need to do position changes throughout the day, you don't have to pull the outriggers all the way up, but if you do want to pull those bad boys up, pop over here, put on my swing out outriggers, and hopefully you can see that. Bump the levers. Boom. Outriggers are in. I'm ready to go, drive through that narrow gate, get the machine back out of the job site. Quick setup, quick tear down, quick leveling. Everything is about efficiency with this machine. All right, so all our outriggers back out. Go ahead and auto level here. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, so machine's level. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn the engine off for a second while I walk over. Show you guys, you need to switch the controls over to the basket side. So on the side, we have emergency stop down here. We're gonna flip it over to the basket side. I'm up in the basket. That bad boy plugged in. Turn the remote on. And you can see I got a green light here. Green means go. Means we are ready to go up in the air with the machine. Let's fire it up. Step on the dead man pedal. I just want to show you guys, while I'm at this level, I can extend this thing straight out. Again, hydraulically limited capacity, not electrically limited, means that even my fat beer drinking butt can get in this basket, still be well under the 440 pounds, and extend this thing all the way out to full side reach. I'm just gonna keep going. All right, so you can see now I'm reached all the way out. While I'm up here, I just want to take a minute. Let's pop the thing up off my chest here. Look down the top of that boom arm. What you see is it's nice and clean. No change, there's no cylinder on top of it, no sensors popped up in the top, anything. Nothing for you to rub up against. A lot of our customers are always dealing with overhead obstructions for their job. That is very key to our industry, that this thing is clean and there's nothing up here. If I rent this to a painting contractor, if you're a rental company, you're going to take this machine, stick it inside of a church, stick it inside of an auditorium where they're painting. This thing is going to come back with paint all over this boom arm. If I had chains out there, my chains are going to have paint on them. They'll have sawdust on them. If my cylinder was on top, my sensors were on top, my rope sensor was on top. All of that stuff needs to be out of the way, hidden, so that the machine can do its job without being impeded. We go ahead and suck this back in here. And I'll show you guys. So if I wanted to, you can run two functions at once. If you do try to rotate, the flow is always going to go to the rotation. The reason why, oil takes the path of least resistance. As we say in our industry, the oil is lazy. And because the oil is lazy, it's easier for it to rotate than it is to run a boom function. If you try and run turntable rotate at the same time, it's just going to run the rotate because it likes the easy way out. Right here you guys can see the rotation. And again, the great thing about this machine, you rotate around, boom arm's going to stay entirely within the outrigger width of the machine, which is very small. It's 11.5 feet by 12.5 feet, much smaller than the competing products in the industry. When you put them in narrow, it goes down even more. You know, it's really about being able to set this machine up in more places than we ever could. The rotation speed, of course, you know, is the slowest function on the machine. That's what it is with everything, but you don't want that massive boom sway when you're up in the air anyway. I'm going to bring it back around. Go ahead and lower it down. Get myself centered. That up and over clearance from that lower sigma or Z boom is really nice. You don't have any back set from the arm. Your arm's not sitting backwards at an angle where you got to worry about hitting any obstructions. If you are working low under a canopy, or if you're working inside of a building and you have a balcony maybe, in a church or in an auditorium, this style of boom allows you to really put it in places that you couldn't some of the double arm models. I'll just show you guys the jib here. Give you an idea of how much above horizontal we can go. And I'll bring that primary boom arm back down to flat just so you can see what that difference is. So you can see, unlike a lot of people, your jib's actually usable. We're going to go a little bit above horizontal. You're going to get about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet at most. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot when you're trying to reach past something. That 5-foot jib really is just super handy for getting up and over things. We got platform rotate too, so I'll rotate the basket over so you guys can see that. You can go full to one side. So you can go all the way the other way as well. So it's a 180-degree rotation. I like to say it's a little bit less than that because nothing ever really truly does a whole full 180. Bring everything back to center. I'll show you guys how we stow the boom. Again, we always want to do the controls in the reverse. So right now, we got the machine centered. Bring down my jib now. You can see if I want to, I can do the magic dance. I'm going to lower and raise at the same time. Plenty of power on this machine, plenty of pump flow to be able to run more than one function at the same time and really not lose a lot of speed, even with my portly 250 pounds in the basket. Lower the jib. Oops. And retract back in. And we always want to do that far left controls last. This machine has a cradle in it that stops it from bouncing around when you go down the road. So again, I went from right to left. I'm centered, my basket's centered, my jib is lowered. And you get that primary boom arm all the way down. Lower the lower pantograph or sigma, Z, whatever you want to call it. Get it into the cradle. Hear the beep. That means I am down. Now if I want to, from the basket, I can raise the outriggers. As soon as they clear the ground, track drive's available. In this case, I'm just going to raise them all the way up. I'll show you guys here. We're on our track drive here. If we did want to move it from the basket, we could. Then we'll have to hop out to swing the outriggers in. To do that, we just flip our switch over, go down below, swing the outriggers in. If you need to suck the tracks in and out, usually we raise it up on the outriggers. It'll do it in loose dirt, but really it's not going to do it on pavement. There's just too much resistance on this brushed concrete to move them in and out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Like all the features in the machine. I'm going to hop out real quick and we'll close her down. Alright, so we're de-harnessed, we're back on the ground. I'm going to show you guys how we stow up the machine, get ready for transport. Again, super easy. We're just going to flip the key switch to lower controls, just like if you're on a Genie, JLG, Skyjack, any machine that's got controls like this for normal construction industry use. You can see we have our indicator light over here is not lit up green. That means my remote's not connected. So I'm going to turn my remote on and connect it. And we get blinky light. Then we go to solid green and we are ready to go. Fire this bad boy up. Make sure we're in the hydraulic swing position for our outriggers. Outriggers are in. Ready to take her for a drive. once we get it loaded onto the trailer, we're going to turn the remote off, lose all the power. Always want to turn off our emergency stops. Oh, it's mad at me because I left the key on. Turn the key off. Remove your battery disconnect. Again, everything's nice and close in the same spot. Take your keys with you. Take your remote with you. If you need to charge your remote overnight, we have a wall charger for plugging the remote in. Otherwise, you can charge it underneath the side cover on the machine. Oops, dropped my key. So that's it. I'm glad you guys stopped in, watched our video, checked out our CTE 230, the newest addition to the Wellbuilt equipment line. We're based out of the south side of Chicago, family owned and operated for over 34 years. I'm second generation. I work for my dad and uncles, which is like, you know, the worst thing ever, but I'm still here. I'm renting you guys lifts, I'm selling you lifts, I'm servicing your lifts. We work on every brand of spider lift made. If this doesn't fit your fancy, we'll help you find the right one, even if you don't buy the machine from us.